It's safe to say many of our residents are familiar with the German Coast Farmers Market. They draw hundreds of folks to their Saturday market in Destrehan each week.
We are providing fresh, local produce to our community and have been doing that. We're in our 21st year. Thank you.
And the market isn't just catering to the East Bank. Every Wednesday, the market's vendors set up at the West Bank Bridge Park from noon to 5 p.m., weather permitting, to give residents an opportunity to experience all the market offers midweek.
On any given Wednesday, we're lucky enough to have a farmer with his homegrown products, his farm-grown products, and we also have home-cooked meals, meaning these ladies work in restaurants and different other venues, but they come out here on Wednesdays from 12-ish to 5-ish. It depends on the crowd, but if you come between those hours, you will find someone here.
The German Coast Farmers Market is we're here for the people. We're here for the community to come in, and different communities to come in and sample our products, our vegetables, our honey, and our hot food, prepared food. We have it all.
It's an experience like no other. The market allows consumers to not only interact with the vendors on a more intimate level, but they also can get consumers more bang for their buck, not only through this direct sale process, but also through great programs like the market's SNAP and Senior Market Coupon initiatives.
Let's say I want $20 worth of produce and honey, and I know that, so I'm going to ask for $20 worth of tokens. So we're going to swipe your SNAP card and give you $20 worth of tokens from your SNAP card, from the government. And then we're going to have a different kind of token that we're going to give you from United Way, $20 worth. And then with Grow the Good, we have another type of token, and that's another $20. So basically what I'm saying is up to $20. Now you can spend $50, but we will only match 20 and 20.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting on Monday, April 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance from Pastor Troy D. Smith, Sr. with True Vine Baptist Church in Hahnville.
Dear God, our Father, we come to tell you thank you for this day that we've never seen before and never shall see again. Dear God, we're asking that you would help us to govern our minds, help us to govern our hearts as we push forward to do the work that you've assigned for our hands to do. Dear God, we'll never forget to give your name the praise, the glory, and the honor. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Smith. Approval of the minutes. I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of March 18, 2024. I have a motion by Ms. Skiba, second by Mr. Carmadell. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes with Ms. Wilson abstaining. Special business proclamation, canvas returns, etc. 2024-0122, in recognition, Honville High School High Steppers Dance Team 2024, Dance Team Union and Small Varsity Team Performance National Champions. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Parish of St. Charles, April 1st, 2024. Whereas the Hornville High School High Steppers dance team competed in the UDA National Dance Team Championship held February 9th through 11th, 2024 at the Hyatt Regency Convention Center in Orlando, Florida. And whereas last year, in 2023, the High Steppers competed in the Dance Team Union National Championship held at the Hyatt Regency Orlando and won first place in the small varsity team performance. The team also took third in the medium varsity spirit showdown and third in small varsity jazz competitions, making a trio of top 3 finishes. And whereas prior to the national tournament, the High Steppers captured first place in all 3 categories at the Dance Team Union regional competition. And whereas the High Steppers earned Dance Team Union national championship honors, capturing the top position in the small varsity team performance competition, they came in third in the nation in Spirit Showdown and Jazz. And whereas members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president wish to recognize the outstanding performance for capturing their 2nd consecutive national championship to the Hornville High School High Steppers dance team. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby recognize Hornville High School High Steppers dance team 2024 Dance Team Union National Championship Small Varsity Team Performance National Champions. And the team members are Ashlyn Rogers, Jaden Parish, Sophie Bourgeois, Carly Claus, Macy Ortling, Addison Hemel, Lauren Perkins, Carson Ford, Avi Ortling, Ashley Perino, Blakely Thompson, Madison Troxler, Sarah Waits, Lexi Ford, Molly Pisani, Director Kylie Voges, and Assistant Director Kaylee Kindler. And the Director Kylie Voges is here to accept, and I have certificates for each of the team members.
Thank you.
Well, we would like to start off by thanking our parish president as well as our council for recognizing all of our hard work as we did achieve all of our goals this year. Your support is greatly appreciated. We are so honored and blessed to live and represent this wonderful parish and community. Thank you so much again.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fonseca. I think we can get to the next item on the agenda. 2024-0123, a proclamation. United Way of St. Charles 5K Bridge Run Day in St. Charles Parish. Ms. O'Daniels.
A proclamation, whereas on Saturday, April 13, 2024, United Way of St. Charles 5K Bridge Run, presented by Shell, co-presented by Valero St. Charles Refinery will be held to benefit the United Way of St. Charles. And whereas United Way of St. Charles provides funding to 30 agencies and programs that provide a wide range of health and human services in St. Charles Parish, and whereas these services include promoting health, wellness, and independence, strengthening the community, and supporting families, assisting with basic and emergency needs, and helping kids succeed. And whereas United Way's value in the community goes far beyond dollars raised by building coalitions that produce collaborative and creative solutions to pressing community problems. And whereas the parish president and the members of the parish council wish to join in and lend their support for this most worthy cause. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby proclaim Saturday, April 13, 2024, as United Way of St. Charles 5K Bridge Run Day in St. Charles Parish. Be it further resolved that the citizens of St. Charles Parish are hereby urged to accept the challenge and be a part of this unique event. And we have John Diaz here to receive.
Thank you.
I will limit a comment really just to say thank you. I was thinking driving over here that the bridge is just so iconic and such a visual representation of our community that it's particularly nice for a community service organization, right, like United Way, to be able to bring the community together and hold a health event, celebrate spring, and we couldn't do that without the support of parish government. So thank you all very much.
All righty, 2024-0124, proclamation, National Public Safety and Telecommunicators Week. Whereas thousands of dedicated telecommunicators daily serve the citizens of the United States by answering their emergency phone calls for police, fire, and medical services, and by dispatching the appropriate assistance as quickly as possible. And whereas the critical functions performed by these professional telecommunicators also include those related to highway safety and maintenance activities, the Office of Emergency Preparedness, and other operations performed by the federal, state, and local government agencies. Whereas professional telecommunicators work to improve the emergency response capabilities of these communication systems through their leadership and participation in training programs and other activities provided by the organizations, such as the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials International, Incorporated, the National Emergency Numbering Association, and the Medical Priority Dispatch System. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of St. Charles Parish and the parish president, do hereby proclaim the week of April 14th through the 20th, 2024, as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the parish of St. Charles in honor and recognition of our public safety telecommunicators and the vital contributions they make to the safety and well-being of our citizens. And I believe we have retired Major Sam Zinner and a few of the ladies from the 911 Center to accept.
It's okay.
That's just a warm-up, okay?
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank the council and parish president for your continuous support for our first responders, as we call them. What they do day in and day out, it takes quite a personality, and it's quite a task for what they go through. I'm going to introduce Commander Ravenel Mixon of our 911 Center. She's going to introduce other telecommunicators, but also we have a lot of new faces on the parish council, so we invite you to the center to see the operation, and they will give you quite a tour of how everything works. So, Ravenel.
I just want to again thank the parish president and the council for continued support. And today we have with us shift manager Makila, we have training manager Lacey, we have communication specialist Raylyn, Dominique, and Tiffany. And these are the ladies that work today. We have a 24/7 operation, so of course we have people there answering the phones and taking care of business. Thank you again.
All righty, next up, 2024-0125, a proclamation, Fair Housing Month in St. Charles Parish. Mr. Bouye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fair Housing Month in St. Charles Parish. Whereas the 56th anniversary of the National Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, during the month of April, is an occasion for all Americans, individually and collectively, to rededicate themselves to the principle of freedom from housing discrimination whenever it exists, and whereas this law guarantees for each citizen the critical and personal element of freely choosing a home, and whereas a fair housing law has been passed by the state of Louisiana, and implementation of the law requires the positive commitment, involvement, and support of each of our citizens, and whereas the departments and agencies of the state of Louisiana are to provide leadership in the effort to make fair housing not just an idea, but ideal for all our citizens. And whereas barriers that diminish the rights and limit the options of any citizen to freely choose a home will ultimately diminish the rights and limit the options of all. Now therefore be it resolved, we the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Fair Housing Month in St. Charles Parish. And I believe that Carla Chasson is here to accept.
Thank you.
2024-0126, a proclamation, National Community Development Week. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation. Whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has operated since 1974 to provide local governments with the resources required to primarily meet the needs of low and moderate income individuals, and whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program is among the few remaining federal programs available to address the needs of low and moderate income individuals in small cities, and whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has provided St. Charles Parish with important and flexible assistance to meet the needs of low and moderate income residents by funding sewer, water, and street improvement projects, economic development projects, and other public improvement projects. And whereas Congress and the nation acknowledge the critical value of the Community Development Block Grant Program and the significant projects that rely on its funds for support. And whereas the week of April 1st through 5th, 2024 has been reserved for recognition and appreciation of the Community Development Block Grant Program. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim the week of April 1st through 5th, 2024, as National Community Development Week. And again, Ms. Chasson is here to accept.
A little more for this one. So all through the nation this week, it's being celebrated as National Community Development Week. And for St. Charles Parish, the Community Development Block Grant Program is an essential program that provides funding for water, sewer, streets, and disaster recovery projects. Currently, we have $33 million in CDBG funds that we're putting towards some drainage improvements, some disaster recovery funds, and that is going to go towards areas that experience repetitive flooding as well as areas that are low to moderate income. So thank you for this proclamation, and you guys have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Ms. Chasson. All right, reports, finance, administrative activities. 2024-0127, the general government buildings. Mr. Messerly.
Good evening. My name is Bob Messerly. I'm here to report for what government buildings has done. Thank you, Sam. I've been here about 6 years, going on number 7. So I will start with, we provide a lot of my guys, we only have 10 people. We have breakdown category, which includes 1 assistant, 1 preventive maintenance coordinator, 5 maintenance mechanics, 2 groundkeepers, and 1 custodian still working with us. We're responsible for maintaining 36 acres of land and 32 buildings weekly that we take care of. Last year, we completed over 1,200 work orders. As small as we are, the guys and the girl help very much to keep everything in order for any kind of need anything. All the public, everybody comes into us, and we go out and help them put plumbing, AC, whatever it may be that we got to put together. Responsibilities, as you can see here, we do July 4th, EOC drills, ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, Veterans Day, Senior Christmas, National Day of Prayer, Relay of Life, for Life, blood drives, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and all the Christmas that you see here and down at the Edward Dufresne is put up with us. We put it up down there. Completed projects last year. As you know, the main one was the 2nd floor that we've been working for and getting through. That took a lot of bark off of me, but we got it done. It took a lot of bark off of all of us. As we finished everything up in the plumbing, structural seals, walls, floors, as you can see, we just opened it up this year. We did new AV. We got basically where all 3 courtrooms could be used for jury or whatever instead of having to change their dockets. So it did very well to get the parish up and running with everything they had. The last of the HVAC units, 1 and 3, was replaced, which I have a 5-year plan. That's not quite there yet, but we've got all the units out, replaced. I still have some ductwork to work on the 1st floor that we'll be working on in the courthouse. Rebuild the recreation building down here for storage for them. We also renovated the legal office across the road here to bring Corey and his team up here closer to the courthouse. And finished most of Ida Storm. We still have a few tidbit areas that we're still working on is there. I removed the communication tower outside down. It was in danger of lightning and different things. We're currently working on the 1st floor of the courthouse renovation. That is the last of the courthouse. It will involve the clerk of courts and the tax office on the 1st floor and part of the 2nd floor out here in front where the stairwells come up. That will complete all the HVAC that we had to work in the building. Will be up to the 21st century and in proper. We're finishing a 5-year plan. I have works with the Access program with 2 people in my office that we're implementing that as we speak. They just went to a conference out of town and brought back a bunch of information where everybody's going to the computers where we can send out work orders, locations and stuff. We've got a barcode we're going to be putting on the buildings that swipes to show them belt size, unit size, where the water is, where the electrical panel, and anything that needs to access to the building. Other than that, that is about all I have. If I can hear answer any questions, I'll be more than happy to.
Ms. Fonseca.
Bob, I just wanted to thank you. The amount of projects that you've tackled in your tenure with the parish is pretty incredible, and you've done a great job, and your staff as well.
I cannot do that without the backing of the parish president and the council. I appreciate the trust.
Thank you.
Mr. Brouillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. I didn't hear what you said about the stairway. What are you doing to the stairway?
Out here, the ceiling up above is going to be replenished, and the duct, there's some minor duct work there. There was no fire curtain that was put up a long time ago, that we've got to take that down, but just past the elevator is where we're going to be working.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, I want to thank you. I know it took a lot to get the second floor done, council chambers and everything, so I appreciate the support you give Michelle and our staff. So, and like I said, everything we have up here, and then, like I said, the events.
She calls a lot.
You have not, every time I call you, it's something, so I appreciate it, and thank you, people, too.
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming, Bob. All right, next on our agenda, 2024-0134, Housing Authority. I think we have Ms. Yolanda Prevost to do a report.
Good evening. To give y'all a little past, present, and future of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. My name is Yolanda Peebles, as we said, the interim director.
You can click. You want me to click?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, the mission for St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and living in a safe environment where they won't, where they feel free from discrimination. With the Housing Assistance Program, we provide 2 programs right now, low rent and HCV, Housing Choice Voucher Program. Housing Choice Voucher Program was formerly known as Section 8. We have 129 units in our public housing development. Boutique has 66, Hornville have 51, and that's Elman have 12. Amount of vouchers we have for HCV is 377. Out of that 377, we have 245 already taken. So we have like 132 vouchers left. A little history on the program. I came in under Ms. Hollis in 2018, but before we both came in, the agency was kind of struggling financially, and they owed HUD $655,000. When Ms. Hollis got there, she and Commissioner Webb J. went there to D.C. to speak to HUD higher up and made some type of arrangement with them to where they had to pay $5,000 and they wiped out that debt. She also came up with the type of streamlined conversion that St. Charles Housing Parish is going through. The housing, St. Charles Housing did a needs assessment, seeing how many people need affordable housing. It's a comprehensive housing assessment survey. The total St. Charles Parish households is 19,310. The owner's household is 15,540. 80.5% of that total is burden, paying more rent than what they can afford. For renters, it's 3,770. That's 19% of the total. And the cost of burden renter household is 1,690. In July of last year, we opened up our wait list. We got approximately 1,200, for ACV and 1,689 for our low rent. Our low rent wait list is still open. It's not closed. It's constantly open. Where does St. Charles Parish Housing Authority get its funding from? Public housing get operating funds plus capital funds, which to do whatever major work that needs to be done on the buildings. The Housing Choice Voucher get the housing assistance payment, which is called HAP, and administrative fees for administering the vouchers, administering put-in vouchers, put-out vouchers. The challenges that the St. Charles Housing Authority has been going through is the executive and management staff turnovers, hurricane-related property damages and resident displacement, substandard performance under the public housing assessment system called SPAS, delay in the streamlined conversion plan, and compliance deficiency in the program administration. With the executive and management staff turnovers, as you all know, back in May of last year, our ED passed away suddenly, and quick thinking on our commissioners, they put me in place. Hurricane related, we know that Hornville got messed up real bad, and some of Boutique. So what we did was we moved the people from out of Hornville. Everybody's in Boutique right now. And we had like 9 people displaced from low rent, but 60 of our HCV people were displaced. Substandard performance, we got that in May from HUD, which was not good because of the conditions that some of the units were in and financials. The delays in our streamlined conversion, SCPHA developers, partners, our developers are Standard Enterprise, and we've been working with them to keep us updated on what is going on. We had a compliance deficiency in program administration, and we got that in May also. So by September, out of the 40 deficiency we have been completed 37 of them. Most of them, the compliance issues we had were like policies we did not have on site, like electronic signatures, cost allocations, new record management, those kind of policies, and our 5-year and 1-year plan for 21, 22, and 23. All of that has been updated. I gave y'all a copy of this fair market rate, because a lot of people wondering how that works on how we determine what the rent is. HUD give us 100% standard. We have the option to raise it up to 110. As you can see, the difference on the 1 efficiency, the 2 bedrooms, and so on. What we add to that is utility allowance, and that will give you a total amount on how much rent that we charge for that. Before I go into that, we have the flat rent for public housing. If a tenant rent, regular rent is more than, let's say it's $1,100, flat rent is $1,090 for a 2-bedroom. We give the tenants the option to take flat rent or the regular rent, but they have to sign to say that they want flat rent rate, which will be a little cheaper than the regular rent. For how we estimate our rent for HCV, let's say it's a 2-bedroom. The monthly adjusted income is $1,240. The payment standard is $1,498. The TPP, which is total tenant portion, is $372. Utility allowance is $201, and the owner wants $1,300. So subtracting 10%, 30% here and there, and adding up the utility allowance with the owner wanted, that gives you the $1,501 for which is the gross rent. And the actual payment standard is the $1,498. So when you do 10% of this, the adjusted income is subtracted from the rent, well, the maximum subsidy, we come down to the bottom where you show where the landlord end up getting paid $1,126 and the family only pays $174. When you see that amount for rent is like $1,498, that doesn't mean that the landlord will get $498 because we have to go by rent reasonable and how much money the tenant makes. We finally have our streamlined conversion plan moving now because it was stuck because we started it in 2019. They're going to tear down Des Elman, remodel Hornville and Boutique. We in the process now with the Saks and HUD doing a turnover, trying to get all of the units into approval status. Right now, the developers are seeking financial so they can build. The plan is if nothing changes, we will start construction September 1st, 2025, and be completed September 1st, 2026. This is what Boutique will look like after the conversion. This is Hornville. And the next one is Des Elman after it's completed. We won't have to do the relocation because we have Boutique, the only place we have people. So once they finish Des Elman, Hornville, we can move our people into there. What the Housing Authority plans are for the future is to partner up with either more developers to do more affordable housing like rent to own, because we have a lot of people that's on our ACV wants to become homeowners. We done had like 10 people we done help that done got off the program and purchased homes. So that is it, and I thank y'all for y'all support, y'all listening, taking the time out. If y'all have any questions, let me know.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Prevost, I want to thank you for the detailed information that we received. Thank you and your board, the commissioners, that probably helped, with everything, with the information that we received. So thank you for this detailed information.
You're welcome.
My question is the projects.
Mm-hmm.
So they're scheduled to be started September of 2025. Is
Yes.
that a definite or is still
If
in
nothing
so
changes with the way things are going now, that's the track.
Okay, all righty. Okay, but just thank you for everything for this. Thank you.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Prevost, I also want to thank you and the board for this very detailed report. It's a lot of information, so I think it'll take a little bit for us to digest. But just immediately, I wanted to ask you, there's currently no one living in the Desalmans in Hornville, correct?
Right.
Okay, so you're going to have all of the residents living in Boutique while the conversion of Desalmans in Hornville
Yes.
is completed,
Yes.
I guess, first?
That's where everybody is right now.
Mhm.
And once they complete those, we're gonna move them from Boutique into Hornville or Des
Okay.
Elmo, wherever they wanna go.
And then you'll work on the Boutique conversion?
Correct.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Brouillet.
Ms. Prevost, thank you so much for putting together what we had discussed. And I also want to thank some of the commissioners, board members that are here as well. If you could stand, please. Thank you for coming, for support. And we look forward to gaining a better understanding and also supporting the board in the future for the progress that's been made. So it's very exciting.
If y'all have any questions, you're more than welcome to pass by, give me a call.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes, one more question. When the construction start, will both Desalmans and Hornville be coming up at the same time, or who's due to start the construction first?
From what I gathered, they will, but they have to tear down Des Elmo, but they're not tearing down Hornville.
Correct, right.
But from what we're told that they're gonna be working on both of them.
Okay, all righty.
Mr. Mobley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When it comes to storm damage restoration, I was reviewing the invoices,
Yes.
and I noticed that all of the contractors were out of the parish. Can you tell me why we couldn't find in-parish contractor to make those repairs? Were they not available?
We put out RFPs, and whoever answered the RFPs, if they're not in the parish and don't respond, we can't give it to them. We
So
only give
only-
them to the ones that
Only
respond to our.
out-of-parish contractors responded to you?
Correct. Just like we have other ones out. I don't see nobody. The ones from, some of them that's from the parish, they'll come and look at it, but they don't submit a bid.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jewell.
Thank you. I just want to comment on Mr. Mobley's question. We had some of that same problem after Hurricane Ida as well. When you had so many big jobs going on, some of the contractors would call smaller jobs. You could not get them to bid on those smaller jobs. Thankfully, we did have a lot of pre-storm emergency contracts in place that we do as a part of our FEMA process. So contractually, we did have some people, but a little bit further on in that restoration project, when we were going to start rebuilding and things like that, we did have a hard time getting folks to bid on those projects. And so that may be something that we can consider as the Housing Authority, is working with you guys to get some pre-storm contracts put in place. That way we don't run into this issue. And all of our pre-storm, I say most of our pre-storm contracts, when it comes to some of the stuff that, like this, small demolition, stuff like that, is all with local vendors.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Prevost, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It was a very detailed report. Looking forward to seeing the new stuff coming soon.
Thank you.
All right, 2024-0128, Parish President remarks. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. First, I just want to start real quick with before I go into this, I want to start real quick. We had a great meeting with the Corps of Engineers on March 20th. We met with Colonel Cullen, we met with Durand Elzy and other top officials from FEMA to talk about various projects that we have going on, whether that's the Muntz pump stations and our permitting process, all the way to the National Levee Database and the all-weather access road, AKA the bike path on the West Bank. And so I do want to report good news that we are going to be able to get the West Bank Hurricane Protection Levee correctly put into the National Levee Database. And so that'll be a big step forward in getting that submitted to FEMA to hopefully revise their modeling in regards to St. Charles Parish. As you recall, in some of our discussions, the modeling done, particularly on the west bank of St. Charles Parish, where we are seeing the higher increases in premium, did not include all of these sections of the West Bank Hurricane Protection Levy. They gave different overtopping frequencies to portions of the levy. Some levies were missing altogether. And I believe the National Levy Database had the sunset levy at a +3 instead of a +6, soon to be +8. So we will do this same process over again once the levy lift in sunset is complete to make sure that the National Levy Database reflects an 8-foot levy instead of a 3-foot levy or a 6-foot levy in some spots. Going on, we had a groundbreaking today. They give us a lot of dirt to break ground in, as you can see. Didn't need that much, but we got it, and the contractor provided that to us. You can see behind me is the batting cages at Norco Elementary. That is the site of the first phase of our Engineers Canal Bank Stabilization Project. Like many parts of the parish, Engineers Canal, and like most canals in the parish, Engineers Canal can benefit from bank stabilization and sheet piling. This project was started, I think, at the behest and the request of Councilwoman Tracy Fletcher in the previous administration. We worked through a couple of issues. The biggest issues here was working with the Corps of Engineers on the fact that we are right up against the levee, the upper guide levee for the spillway, and we had to get some relocation of some utility poles. But this first phase is 500 feet. It's going to help us straighten the canal out. I was able to show the council members that were there today how much it's sloughed off and how wavy the dirt is at the water line. So we're going to clean that up. And we are going to continue working this project all the way down to our pump station. And I want to just again commend the council for agreeing to do the CMAR project on the pump station down in Engineers Canal. I was told today that 30% plans were submitted to Cajun. That shows 2 alternatives. And I'm happy to discuss those 2 alternatives. We are leaning towards one option right now, but this project here is $1.4 million, and we're going to keep chipping away at it like we do with most of our projects involving sheet pile. You got to just do a section at a time and keep working down, and we're excited about it. Next, we'll go over to the Zalman's Bulkhead Phase 1. They are already rocking and rolling on that. We went out there to take some pictures just for this presentation. We saw that there was already a good bit of bulkhead in place, and you can see that in those pictures there. So remember that in this section here, they are just about a foot or so out from the existing wall, and they're going to backfill in between the old wall and the new wall with dirt, and then they are going to remove the old wall, at least everything above the soil. So they'll cut out the old pilings and everything they can remove, and then this will be finished with a cap on top of that sheet pile. So we're excited to see that one moving. Again, we want to remind our residents that the boat launch is going to be closed from April 1st to May 17th as they're doing this work, but it will be open May 4th and 5th for the blessing of the fleet. Okay, here's that boat launch picture. And then going over to Waterworks, want to give you guys an update on the Waterworks sea filter upgrades. I think it was earlier this year or last year, we did bring council members to see the West Bank filter improvements that were done. And these new troughs that you see at the bottom was where we help filter water through this entire filter stack. But these troughs help skim off some of the bad stuff on top of the water for waste that get pumped back into the river. And if I'm not mistaken, we did receive about 90% or more of this project through grant funding through, I think it's a program called CWEF. So we're excited to see that project moving on. We do have the larger project doing some Hurricane Ida repairs, building repairs over on the East Bank. But this one is one of those ones that is really important because we're taking an old filter that maybe hasn't been touched in multiple decades and refurbishing it and getting it ready to go for a few more decades. All right, going over to the animal shelter. This weekend, the Easter Bunny was at the animal shelter, so kids and pets of St. Charles Parish could visit the Easter Bunny for a good cause. The money raised from the event went to TRIP, which is Turning Rescues into Pets, which is a local nonprofit that focuses on getting rescues adopted. Over to PIO office, there is a sneak preview on the screen of our 2023 annual report. It is being printed currently and will highlight all of our departments' accomplishments from last year. This is something we do every year, and we thank the United Way for helping us pay for a portion of this. And I just want to say thanks to Public Works and all of the directors who got us the information we needed to make this report something that our residents, we think, are going to enjoy and will be very informative for them. All right, last but certainly not least, sales tax numbers were unfortunately down again in February, a total decrease of 9% from February of 2023. Not the trend we want to see, but per the sales tax offices, or the sales tax office, just about all of our taxpayers had a decrease in remittance. So it's not something from any one particular, it's kind of across the board. I will remind the council that from the place in which we started, we are still up, year over year over year. This is the first year, at least that I've been in office, where we've seen a slight decrease, and we're hoping that that will reverse course sometime later this year. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. I really appreciate spending that time today, and I'm so glad to see our projects finally coming to fruition. I know we got a bunch of them. I know we got a bunch coming down the pike, so I appreciate that. Okay, next on our agenda, ordinances and resolutions introduced for publication, public hearing, Monday, April 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. the council chambers, the courthouse, Hanville. 2024-0135, and copies have been made and placed in your folders for 2024-0136. Next up on the agenda, planning and zoning petitions. 2024-0120, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 to change the zoning classification from C2 to C3 on Lot X5A Sunset Drainage Districts 15396 Highway 90 Paradise, as requested by Bobby Gorman Sr. for the St. Charles Recycling Incorporated. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As stated, the request is to go from C2 to C3, the difference being between general commercial and highway commercial. The department, as well as the Planning Commission, recommended denial, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to assist.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. File number 2024-0120 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I am Stacy Marcelone, and this is my daughter. My address is 4604 Cleveland Place, Metairie. I am opposed to changing the zoning from C2 to C3 on this lot for several reasons. One, the C3 industrial uses would allow manufacturing plants and chemicals, toxic waste that would be harmful to the health and well-being of the 51 families in the immediate community. If this was a neighborhood of homes in a higher price range, I don't even think we'd be standing here tonight. This community deserves the same protection from the toxic waste of a C3 zoning of industrial. Two, the parking. Are y'all familiar with this plot? You've got a parking lot coming in off of 90, and then the other option is early. And there's really not enough space on either end to allow for parking, much less congestion from the traffic on Highway 90 or in the neighborhood. And there is one light. There's one red light right there that allows the neighborhood to come and go in a safely manner. And in addition to that, it's really not compatible with the neighborhood. Currently, there's no industrial businesses from Taylor to Bayou Gauche. So I just don't see how an industrial business that would potentially have toxic chemicals would fit into this neighborhood. And in addition to that, I think the zoning will decrease the property values of the homes in the neighborhood and also create a hardship for rental property. I don't think that people would want to live next to an industrial plant. And currently, the property that surrounds it, it's even though it might be zone C3, you've got a trailer that's acting as either a small residence or a business, so it's not really industrial. In addition to this, my family purchased this land 47 years ago. We've been here a lot longer, and in this community a lot longer than the current owner of this property. In 1977, we built those 3 apartment complexes and have had tenants for 47 years. The land fronting on 90 was commercial, with a 25-foot easement between that commercial property and it was multifamily, is what they were told. So spot zoning was never discussed, and this is what's happening right now. So how can we go back on something that's been in place 47 years? How can we change the game now? I don't think that's...
Ms. Stacy, are you almost finished? I can ask for 3 more minutes if you like.
I am almost done. Is that okay?
Would you like 3 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks. As you can see, this community,
Excuse me, I have to ask for a motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a motion by Ms. Daniels, second by Ms. Fonseca, to grant 3 more minutes. Please cast your votes.
I thought it was asking me. Anyway, my thought is,
Hold on, Ms. Stacy. You got to go through. We're back in school again, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. You have 3 more minutes. Ms. Stacy.
Appreciate the 3 more minutes. Okay, thank you. I'll need it. It's been a long time. Anyway, my thought is, this was C2 when Mr. Gorman purchased the property. If he wanted something to put a C3 type of business on, then maybe he should have purchased a C3 piece of property 14 months ago. And if he didn't, I'm sorry, but if he's looking to rent it, he can rent it to someone who fits in that C2 box. C3 is just not something that I need next door to my property. Well, anyway, I asked for you to decline the request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Is there anyone else who'd like to come up to speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Lynette Gorman, and I live at 106 Early Street. I have lived at 106 Early Street my whole life. I grew up in Parity, so I have been there through the rise and fall of Parity. It has grew substantially my whole life living there. We did buy the property initially as storage because we own several businesses in the parish and properties in the parish for storage for our venue that's in Hornville. We're asking it to be zone C3 because it is going to be a rental building in the future. And we're not sure what people is going to want to rent the building. So we didn't want to have to come back every time if it's a C2 to get special zoning if it was something that didn't classify under the C2 zoning. We also know that there is going to be an industrial park right across the street, which is C3 in Parity. We're not a spot zone. There's C3 right on the other side of 306, so we're not considered a spot zone. But other than that, we both live in this parish. We both have businesses in this parish. We've been in this parish our whole lives. And We would just like it to be Zone C3, so if we want to rent it out to somebody, we'll have that already in place.
And the reason I'm saying that she's talked to him much on the last meeting.
But she said something about the parking. Right now, there is not a lot of parking, but we do own the acre and a half in the front beside that building on Highway 92. So that is adjacent to that property. So if it was something that needed additional parking, there is room for that, because we do own that property too.
And we're not using it as a recycling, we just use it as a warehouse.
For right now, until we decide we're gonna rent it out.
Thank you, Ms. Nutt. Appreciate it, Ms. Bobby. Thank y'all. Does anyone else would like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Mr. Commodore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the adjoining property to this was in my family for 35 years prior to Katrina, and was recently sold off. I'm not in favor of this because of your access to Early Street. That access to open up commercial traffic. When I moved from that corner property into the neighborhood of Cato Street, my family was abruptly interrupted by a seafood restaurant coming in, which drove commercial traffic up and down our street. My kids didn't learn how to ride a bike till they were 7 and 10 years old because of the traffic. And to open up to C3 and just allow any renter to come in is not really favorable. Having them come here for a special permit and say, hey, we're gonna do an auto body shop, or we're gonna do a mechanic shop, still give some control to the council and some protection to the neighborhood and the community so that just anyone can't come in. From a rental standpoint, there's, my district, District 4, covers from Walmart all over to Bayou des Allemands. All of those buildings through Boutique Mozilla that are C3 are empty. So there's plenty of C3 vacant property in our district. And the one behind your house was a condition of sale, and the owner tried to do something different with it and was shut down. So that's why the whole putting something in a C3 zoning just doesn't work for just that open possibility, right? The guy was supposed to be a car lot, came in, brought junk cars, and had to get shut down. So, yeah, I think if, we need to have some control of that. So the special permit, I think, is the way to go for now.
Thank you, Mr. Commodore. Is there any further council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0120. And that motion fails unanimously. Ordinances scheduled for public hearing introduced at a previous meeting. An ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish, 2024-0117. An ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 1, in general, Section 2-12, Procedures for Procurement of Architects and Engineers, 1, Special Provisions, A and B, to increase the contract fee threshold amount for consulting engineers and architectural services handled administratively to $50,000, and to revise the required notice to the Parish Council of the award of contracts handled administratively. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Administrative contracts are used to procure the services of architectural and engineering firms for permitting, surveying, testing, hydraulic and hydrologic modeling, wastewater rate studies, etc. The existing legislation in our Code of Ordinances, Section 212, authorizes the parish president to execute administrative contracts under $20,000 without council approval. As costs in general have risen substantially since COVID, not to mention since 1998 when the $20,000 threshold was set, the administration and previous councils have worked to update the dollar thresholds for items purchased via purchase orders, wastewater rates, civil service, council, and parish president salaries, etc., to reflect the current market. The subject of raising the dollar threshold for administrative contracts did come up the last term, but we were just unable to address it, get to it at the time. So it is in the best interest of the parish government that the administration is allowed to execute administrative contracts for services such as these without council approval, so that engineering and architectural projects can be implemented in an efficient manner and cost-effective manner. It doesn't make sense for contracts for these type services between $20,000 and $50,000 to have to be brought before the council, as we've seen in recent years, and have the services delayed for the 4-week period that it takes for a contract to be approved by the parish council. The existing legislation also requires that the administration provide a monthly report listing all administrative contracts that have been executed to the parish council. The monthly reports have sometimes been delayed. Therefore, this portion of the legislation is being updated to state that a copy of any such contract shall be forwarded to the council secretary upon execution. The administration, as I understand, is working on implementing a program for these type contracts and other contracts, and I'll defer that to Parish President Jewell to explain during council discussion. But your support for updating the existing legislation is appreciated.
Thank you, Ms. Fonseca. File number 2024-0117 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, is there any council discussion? Okay, so seeing none, the public hearing is closed. The council discussion, Ms. O'Daniels. Ms. O'Daniels.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I agree with the principles established by this ordinance and the proposed amendment to the ordinance conflicts with the powers vested in this council by our home rule charter. And for that reason, I have to vote no. But I strongly suggest that we take a hard look at the home rule charter to allow the council to provide the transparency and the checks and balances our residents deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniels. Mr. Perrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've looked back at the reference documents that we've had since 1993, where they had a qualification-based selection system, and there was a $10,000 exclusion back then. Then some years later, 98, there was a $20,000 exclusion, which we're trying to raise right now. And then in 2000, there was pretty much the qualification system there, but we're still at 20,000 with some change in language. And it looks like maybe in 2012, the qualification-based system was removed. One thing that has remained, though, in the language since the first day that these ordinances were brought into the council for approval is the departments to which these exclusions apply, and that is Public Works, Wastewater, and Waterworks, which for wastewater, they called it sewage. Right? And that's a fact. And I consider the need to increase these limits as a very practical measure. Frankly, I like the idea. I like the idea that when we go out to do a major project or some construction, having this exclusion up front allows us to speed up a project very possibly, and even possibly reduce the cost. However, I do have a problem with the stipulation, no stipulation being the departments to which this applies, being Public Works, Wastewater, and Waterworks. And I don't feel comfortable with this just being carte blanche application to all departments anywhere within the parish. And for that reason, I'm not very comfortable with this, and I went from the position of having a very strong feeling about supporting it to not feeling very good about supporting it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pillay. Mr. Jewell.
I just want to mention that Ms. Fonseca said that we're going to have a system in place. We are working, and I don't know if Anthony has updated you all on that as a part of his report, but we have many contracts that go to the parish. A lot of them don't come to the council, and there's a lot of flexibility based off of what the charter says on the powers and the authorities of the parish president. I wasn't around parish government in 1993 and not 1998 or 2000. for that matter.
Really?
No, I wasn't. I think I was in 5th grade in 2000. So when we, the way we used to do contracts, and let me, again, the parish president has the flexibility of a wide variety of contracts up to public bid law, but for some reason, the engineering and architectural contracts somehow got looped into this ordinance. Now, if you read the charter, I do agree with Ms. O'Daniels that it is clear what the powers of the parish president are. But there's also been some precedent set for the past, 20, 30 years on how they did it. And we've never gone against that precedent. We've always followed suit. So what I would say is we are asking for the flexibility to continue that precedent as prices have changed. I do believe, and pretty much every parish president that I know that has come before me has had that flexibility across all departments. So I do not support limiting this to only some departments. The second portion, I'll go back to it really quickly to how they used to do things was they used to lump all of these services into a single contract that they brought to the council. They used Curve A and they decided, hey, this is what we're going to pay for architectural and engineering, and these are these services that are going to bake into the contract. Problem with that is that these a lot of these engineering firms don't do these services in-house. There are some really big firms like your AEComs of the world who can do all of these things in-house. We tend to use smaller local companies when we do projects. And so what happens is when they sub these out, they mark it up, usually about 10% to all these services. So when we came in, we said, instead of us doing that, let's break these services out and not allow those services to be marked up. And that's what we did. And that's why it has taken a little bit longer for us to get every aspect of these projects on the ground and going, because we've had to break out portions of it because we want to save that money. And when we're talking about a $10,000 contract here, a $70,000 contract here, $80,000, $50,000, whatever it is, you start adding that 10% on all of it, and that adds up. So it's an effort for us to try to stretch the parish's tax dollars as far as we can with this. Ms. Fonska mentioned the contract, what we call the Contract Lifecycle Management Program, a CLM. Right now, it's very sporadic where I say right now, but it has been sporadic where all these contracts lie. Is it in someone's brain? Is it in some random Excel document somewhere? Who has the contract? When it comes due? How much is the contract? What was the contract used? Is it different from the current contract that we have now? The purpose of the CLM, and I'll tell you, when I came in, there were a lot of services being provided to the parish under no contract. Zero contracts whatsoever. So we've done a lot of cleaning up of that, but it's still a lot of contracts. Whether it's grass cutting, whether it's pest control, things of just your day-to-day operations type stuff. It's a lot, and so we're putting together this CLM. It's going to be through DocuSign. That way we can do electronic signature on a lot of documents. We can upload wet signature documents to this, but we can put in reminders on when these contracts come up if it's a yearly contract. Who has the contract, everything in place. A part of that contract will be about notifications. So if we have an administrative contract moving forward, the last portion of that contract, last portion of that process in the CLM will be to notify the council secretary so that she can disperse that to the council members. So we're hoping that we can get to a system, and if this ordinance is passed tonight, which says that basically we have to notify them upon the execution of the contract, will eliminate the monthly reports and go to immediate execution of the contract and immediate notification of the contract, which will give our council members much quicker transparency for that process.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I understand Mr. Pile's concern about keeping the language where it involves Public Works, Sewage, or Waterworks Department of any St. Charles Parish government office, agency, commission, or special district. The language is exactly what we're trying to update here, and we no longer have a sewage department. It's called wastewater, and we don't want this to apply to just any agency, commission, or special district, for example, the hospital. That's why the language in the amendment is changed to simply an office or department of St. Charles Parish, which complies with the precedent that has been set over so many years, where all departments of the parish government, we do receive copies of their administrative contracts that are executed. I do agree that, probably the majority of the most critical and critical projects that need to be implemented in a time-sensitive manner are public works, wastewater, and waterworks projects. But again, there are also those same type projects that government buildings tackles. For instance, the second floor renovation, we didn't want to have the court staff displaced for a long period of time. So should the need for some of these contracts arise, I wouldn't have wanted them to have to wait 4 weeks to secure these services, to have to come before us and get a contract approved. That's why it is the language, suggested language to change it to is an office or department of St. Charles Parish, really any. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fatiga. Mr. Pili.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand where you're coming from. I look at the criticality of the departments which were named originally. You don't have water, you don't have sewage, and you don't have drainage. We can't do much living right around our parish, So those are critical. Those are critical infrastructure items. I would say that I don't want to sound unsympathetic to other things, but things like, let's say, a ballpark, a dog park, a modification to a dog park, whatever it is. Those are not critical infrastructure in my mind. So my belief is going back some 30 years and those particular departments being singled out, I keep wondering why there's a reason that it had been, but there must have been a reason it had been. And so we're doing this. I agree that, it accelerates the schedule in many instances. It increases the savings that you could have, and it may apply to other departments as well, but I'm not sure the original intent was for us to go down the path of everything goes that way. You can wait more time. You can't wait to fix a wastewater plant. People can't wait for that. Water system, same sort of stuff. But, other things perhaps so. But that's all I really have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pili. Is there any other council discussion? Well, I'm gonna chime in, and because it's something that I feel pretty strongly about. I've had discussions with several people. So my first 4-year term was a very trying term. We, the voters of St. Charles Parish, hired that man over there. He hired each one of the directors. He put confidence in those directors to be able to put their products. Mr. Pili, I've been here since I've been 13 years old, and there was a reason why it was specifically spelled out, because we had problems. And we have all admit that in our history. We know what it is. We know there was problems. But we're past that, okay? We're better people today. We are better stewards. Each one of us up here is a taxpayer in St. Charles Parish and has been a St. Charles Parish taxpayer. And we trust our administration for this taxpayer. We have all talked about our projects. When all of y'all were elected, y'all got a list of your capital projects, right? And we all want to move on it. Everybody out in audiences and want us to know when we're going to do stuff. You saw it today, we did ground baking. We saw different things. By doing this ordinance, we can move things faster. We have to have trust in our administration. And look, I'm not saying that today or tomorrow we find out that it's not right. Guess what? We can rescind it. We can come right back to it. But we got to keep moving forward, people. We cannot stop. We got 4 years to get things done. And you guys that are going to come after us and your terms after, you got the playbook. And these are the kind of things that we have to make a change to. We have to trust our administration, our parish president, to make sure that we spend it. And guess what? If we don't like the way he does it, we'll reintroduce the ordinance in. So Please, I would ask for your support in that consideration. Being in the industry, we all know prices have changed. We know people have done business. And it was done for a reason in the past, but I really, truthfully, honestly believe that we are past all that. So, Ms. O'Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One comment to that, I don't want people to misinterpret that I don't think there should be checks and balances. I just don't think that this is an item that we can legislate on. The charter is clear, and therefore I'm just going to lean back on what my father always told me, is that you can't give what you don't have. So if we don't have the legislative power for it, we can't legislate it. That's for the parish president to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Daniels. Is there any further council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0117, please. And that motion passes with Mr. Pele and Ms. O'Daniels voting nay. All righty, next up, 2023-0326, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a cooperative endeavor agreement between Bunge North America Incorporated, Bunge Chevron AG Renewables LLC, and the Parish of St. Charles, providing for the construction of a road connecting Jonathan Street to Lorraine Street. Mr. Wu.
Thank you, Councilman. As you see, 2023-0326 is in conjunction with the next agenda item, 2023-0328. The Cooperative Endeavor Agreement, if you read them together, with the council, if the council gets to the point of revoking the adjacent roads in this area, in conjunction with that, the CA contemplates Bunge constructing a new road to access all the property to the north of the railroad tracks as reflected in the CEA. With regard to this CA between the parties, what is primarily of concern is that, not of concern, but primarily of something to point out, is that the new road must be built by January 31st, 2025. So that holds Bunge to that standard. But more importantly, if you look at Article 4, the obligations of the parties, it really sets out exactly what Bunge has to do to construct that road. That road originally was intended to be Noel Street. It's going to be Noel and then a connector road. So when that road is constructed and all the other roads are hereby revoked if the council decides on the next agenda item, that would allow this construction up to public standards. What's important for that is it's going to be up to today's standards. As everyone knows from the area, those roads are in a different condition than what a new road would be. Also important, so I know I've had some questions about this, in conjunction with both of these two things, there's also an access agreement where St. Charles Parish and the other landowners north of the railroad, which include GHF, LLC, and Entergy, Bunge is agreeing to across Jonathan Street access. So perpetually for St. Charles Parish. So if the council determines that there is a need to revoke, there will always be perpetual access across Jonathan Street, even after the new connector street is constructed as well. If there's any questions on the CEA or any of the other ordinances, I'll be glad to take them at any time. Also, Mr. Albert from Planning and Zoning, as well as Mr. Bingham from Public Works, have worked directly with reading the CEA and the revocations and how they work together to their department standards. And there's also representatives from Bunge to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. File number 2023-0326 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Council, Mr. Parish President. Jay Robichaud, 200 Mistletoe Drive. I am Bunge's Community and Government Relations Manager. Sorry if I'm going to repeat some of the stuff he said, because I wrote this down without knowing what he's going to say. Bunge just celebrated its 100th year in the United States. We are the world's leader in oilseed processing and a leading producer and supplier of specialty plant-based oils, fats, and proteins. We've had a grain elevator located in Destrehan since 1961, where we proudly connect farmers to customers by delivering essential food, feed fuel to the world. As you are aware, Bungie has started a very large investment at its Destrehan facility. This is the first of two ordinances. The second one, again, is going to be the actual revocation of the streets. This is the CEA basically saying that we're going to build the public access road from Jonathan to Lorraine Street to make sure that that public access can be had to the north side of the railroad tracks. This, of course, is allowing trucks and larger vehicles to use Jonathan Street forever. So we're not putting vehicles into the neighborhood onto Lorraine Street. That the CEA is basically saying we're going to have, and by the way, we already have the agreement with the Parish, Entergy, and the guy who owns all the property on the north side of the property of the neighborhood. We request your consideration for support of the CEA, and we're here for any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. All right, file number 2023-026 for public hearing. If anyone would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Jeff Grayson, 205 Lorraine. They're stating we're not going to get any traffic. It's a daily thing. We got trucks, 18-wheelers, side-by-sides, four-wheelers. The sheriff was called today. He came out. They've been called multiple times. State police been called multiple times. This is a no-truck route. The road's only 18 feet wide. There's barely enough room for 2 cars to pass. Now, they want to build this new road. They said they're building a connector road, but they've already put up a permanent fence across where the connector road would go. So they're going to run Noel Street from Jonathan out to Lorraine Street. And, you know, it's in there. They have 2 streets in what it should be in front of you. They have 2 streets in there. They have the Noel Street, then they have it where it goes into Parcel D and comes out on Jean Street. You're still putting all your traffic out on Lorraine Street. Street's covered with mud. It's brand new. The Parish just redid it. It's covered with mud. My wife was trying to wash it off today when she washed her car. It's a mess. I mean, I don't believe they're going to build the other streets. They've already permanently fenced it in. They'd have to take down their brand new fence. They've already fenced in the streets that y'all haven't given them yet. They got barbed wire gates across them right now. I've been there for a week. So, I mean, and the 4 council members that should abstain from voting on this, they were at their groundbreaking with shovels in their hands, and y'all know who you were, because I do, posted it all over social media, so there's no way this is going to be a fair vote. I mean, if y'all are speaking about neighborhoods and houses and how nice it's going to be. Take your ride down through Gabriel Heights. It's a mess. They've destroyed our neighborhood. I've been talking to realtors for a month. They won't even take my house to put it up for sale. I've been trying to contact President Jewell maybe 30 times. Nobody will call me back from his office since I tell them who I am. We called planning and zoning about the barbed wire fence on residential area. They told my wife I could build a 50-foot barbed wire fence on a servitude if I felt like it. What Bungie's actually doing, expanding an M3, non-conforming M3, breaks every parish code ordinance there is. That is true. What they're building belongs on M3, but this parish is allowing them to build it on M2.
Mr. Jeff, it's not that we're talking right now. We're talking about a cooperative endeavor agreement on the building.
The property endeavor they're building ain't right. You can't do it where they want to build it across lot 36. They don't have servitude. Servitude stops at Destrehan Park. That's what you're talking about. I'm just telling you what this road is. And it's not right.
Thank you, Swell. Appreciate it. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Tony Patera, Often 457 Longview. I just have a question. If they're coming to Lorraine Street to Jonathan Street, how are they getting there if they can't go down the street? I don't understand that. Can it be clearer to me? Can someone explain it where it's clearer?
Get that done for you.
I want to know, okay, they can't go down Lorraine Street. They want to go down Noel Street, right? Am I correct? And where's that at? So they're going further closer to where Bungee's at. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Wendy Grayson, 205 Lorraine Street, Destrehan, Louisiana. What I'm about to say is true. What my husband said, we've been calling the police all the time. It is a disaster. They are riding these side-by-sides to do whatever construction they want to do. And my common sense, and anybody else's common sense, would have said, if you needed that street, why didn't you buy it? Instead of destroying our lives and our homes, do you think that if it was your home or your parents' home or anybody else's that's next to you, close to you, do you think that anyone would care? Do you think it would be any different? No. They would still do what they want to do. They've proven it by what my husband said, by putting up the permanent gates across the roads that you have not even voted on yet. That looks really bad. Who is pulling the strings here? Who? Why are they allowed to do something that's not even been voted on yet? That is just baffling my brain. And I'm sure everyone else in the parish. And then we see these fences go up. Okay, fine. They're not even residential fences on residential property. But yet we have all these people that are brought in to get a variance on a fence that is a half a foot too tall in their front yard. But we can put an industrial fence in a residential zone. What sense does that make? And if you think it's not detrimental to mental health, our quality of living, I have had to increase my medicines daily. I have been in a turmoil for I don't know how long. My doctors get calls every 2 to 3 days. In this past month, I have had to try to keep myself out of a hospital 3 separate times. If you think it's not damaging our community, think again. And you talk about community growth and community well-being. What about us? What about us? And Mr. Carmodell, you spoke about our seafood restaurant disrupting your life and traffic and all that. How would you think about all this industrial traffic going up and down? That is a serious disruption to the highest of extent. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Ms. Grayson. Appreciate it. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. O'Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Mr. Robichaux.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you go through exactly where the connector road is? I'm working off Exhibit B. Okay, could you just outline it for us where the connector road is going to be built under this agreement, or?
He can do that. I'm just telling you, page 48 is the best place to follow along for this.
Okay, so. Okay. Looks the same, but I'm there.
Okay, so it's going to be on the top of Jonathan Street.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cross the railroad tracks from Entergy or the wastewater facility, you're going to turn right, pretty much right over the tracks, and you're going to follow the railroad tracks till you get to Pelican Street. We're going to build a new portion of Pelican Street from Noel to Jean Street. And then you're going to turn onto Jean Street and exit on Lorraine.
Then can you explain to me what parcel D is in the cooperative agreement?
Oh, I'm sorry. Parcel D is the lots or the land that are on Pelican Street now. We're going to move Pelican Street over just a bit because we have to reconstruct Pelican. Do you want to answer that, Mike? I'm sorry.
I might be able to do this a little easier.
Okay.
As part, following any revocation, the person that requests it is required to do a subdivision to consolidate the properties, incorporate whatever land was revoked, that sort of thing, okay? As part of this, as part of their re-subdivision to absorb all of the former streets, if this is approved, they are segmenting off what you see as parcel D, okay? If you were to come down Lorraine Street from River Road, and that's Jean, you would turn right onto Jean, and then immediately left onto what is now shown as parcel D. That would be a continuation of Lorraine, or given another name, or however it's gonna be dealt with at that point. So you would go down to Lorraine, turn right on Jean, and then take an immediate left down what is parcel D, and that would go into Noel Street. That's the configuration that's proposed in the CEA.
Okay, for the alternative access is what you're
Yes,
saying.
all of the construction takes place on that parcel D and Noel Street. Parcel D, in its configuration on the plan, right, as you see it right here, is sized so that it would already meet the street standards. Like, that's why it's that size and shape now.
Okay. So, Mr. Robichaud, are you able to make any comments as to the construction or the actual traffic on Lorraine Street? Is that something that's being monitored by Bungie?
Can I bring up Kurt, who kind of started this whole project, and he's been involved with it on a higher level than me? Sorry to throw you under the bus.
Thanks, Jay. Kurt Olau, 1504 Shadow Ridge, Columbia, Illinois. Jay is based on site. I'm based out of St. Louis, but I'll do it. I can't answer. So traffic on Lorraine Street, all contractors on site are instructed to maintain their side-by-sides, their construction equipment within the Bungie property boundaries. It's going to be easier to do now that we've got the security fence up. There has been some problems. We acknowledge that. We are growing. We are getting better with contracting crews coming onto our site. New people, new crews every day. They go through a site-specific safety training, which they're instructed to keep it within the bounds.
So you anticipate that's going to taper off once you
Yeah,
get the proper training?
Yep.
for you people? All right, well, thank you for addressing that.
Did that fully answer all good?
And just to go one step further, there is a traffic route that the contractors are given that's on Modoc and Pelican Street to access our facility, that they're, I mean, we telling them every day to stay off of Lorraine Street, do not enter and exit Lorraine Street, do not get near Lorraine Street. So we already have that set up. It's just, we need to get a little stronger, I guess, on communication.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Mr. Pillier.
Mr. Robichaud, I know I'd spoken to you some time ago. I was under the impression that Noel was not going to be rebuilt. Is that still the case?
Yes, sir. It's going to be built from Jonathan to right past Pelican Street. Yes, sir. It's not going to go all the way across like the original plans last year when we first brought it to the table. We decided to reroute from right past Pelican down to Jean Street and into Lorraine.
And I recall something I read in the past about not having the right turning radius for big trucks and stuff like that, but I think I understand that Jonathan Street's going to be the main thoroughfare to
Yes,
get
sir.
back to the yards and, over the other side of the tracks, correct?
Yes, sir. And as expressed, the parish is requiring us just to make sure that that street, any street we construct, fits today's standards. So it has to have a turning radius that a truck can make it. But with the agreement with the parish and Entergy and the landowner, trucks have to stay on Jonathan Street to access the trucks.
And is there somebody that you have who is directing traffic on Lorraine at all? Or are you just relying on signs, which apparently, that it's a big irritant with a whole bunch? I guess you have trucks, construction, just pickup trucks, people to the site. You must park back there or something. My guess
No, we don't have any so that's what Ms. Ulay said, since we have the fence now, so if you go on to Lorraine Street, you can't go onto our property from Lorraine Street right now. So there's no reason for them to be there at all, is what I'm telling you. So we're not. That's why we keep calling police. We're instructing our contractors to stay off of Lorraine Street.
So just for curiosity's sake, is there any reason why you wouldn't consider, just to, not get the neighbors all twisted off, having a monitor there? I'm talking about a person who makes sure these people stay off. Just a question.
Yes, sir. That's more of a Kurt question. You want to answer that one?
Again, I mean, yeah, we'll consider it. But for the time being, since they indicated that the fence was thrown up in the last 7 to 10 days, so I think that will be the physical barrier that we need to keep the contractors on our site. And like Jay said, we've got a traffic plan that whenever we start getting hundreds of trucks in and around our site every day, coming and going, they are directed to come down Jonathan Street and out Jonathan Street. So all within a loop contained within the Bunkie property, none on Lorraine Street. And the fence is gonna deter that 100%.
Well, my only point is that I actually attended one of these open house things. You may have been there, I don't know. And it had some pretty hot folks over there too, and so if you've got a constant, an irritating use of their street, it might be worth considering something that could deter people, get in their minds, don't use it, stay away from these folks. Just a thought, and
Yeah, we're absolutely mindful of what the potential on Lorraine Street is, which is why we are shooting for 0 additional traffic from a contractor sense on Lorraine Street.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pillar. Any further council discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0326. Mr. Commodore, will you state why you're abstaining, please?
My employer is actually employed on the project that is involved with the Bungie project, so I am abstaining from all votes.
Thank you, Mr. Commodore. And that motion passes with Mr. Commodore abstaining. All right, 2023-0328, an ordinance to revoke and abandon Modoc Street, portions of Jonathan Street, Pelican Street, Amy Street, John Street, and Destrehan Park subdivision, as shown on the map of Michael P. Blanchard, PLS, signed and dated February 2024. Mr. Ude.
Yes, thank you. As discussed earlier in conjunction with the CEA, if you look on page 47 of your agenda, it indicates the streets that would be revoked should the parish council decide. And to let the council know, I know I've spoken to some of you individually about how the revocation process works. Under Louisiana law, Louisiana revised statute has a two-pronged test. And basically the two-pronged test, and it's an R factor, which is important. One, the roadway, and this is multiple roadways, but if you look at them individually, is actually abandoned and is no longer in use by members of the public. Or, if the road is still in use, the public need for continuance of the road may be weighted by the public authority. And so long as the council's decision on its need is not arbitrary and capricious, a formal abandonment will be given. What's important is, based on the dedications of the roadways at the time, and this being a statutory dedication pursuant to the law that was in existence at the time, revised statute 335051, now amended, but even in looking at some of the older case law that discusses that statute at the time and how these subdivisions were dedicated to the parish at the time, which wasn't the same process as now, where it comes before the council. To kind of give a quick summary of it, if the council decides to revoke these roads, the ownership of the soil under the abandoned roadways reverts to the continuous landowners up to the center line. So whoever owns the adjacent lots up to the center line becomes the owners at that time. In this situation, the council needs to consider, one, the public need for the road, and when I say public need, there's a difference between public in general versus St. Charles Parish as an entity. I know I've had some discussions with council members legally. St. Charles Parish as an entity has the access agreement that we discussed to protect them perpetually from their rights, and with the CEA, that road would be constructed as well to keep public access to those back properties. In this situation, the adjacent landowners, should the council revoke these roads, happens to be the ownership of Bungie. There are some weighted factors, and I know Mr. Bingham and some others can discuss about the current issues about the ownership of the roads and their current conditions. Liability issues, the cost of maintaining, all that is considered by public entities when considering whether to abandon a set of roadways. So that's up to the council to consider on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. File number 2023-0328 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello again. Jay Robichaud, 200 Mistletoe Drive, Norco. Again, I'm the Community and Government Relations Manager for Bungie. This revocation, we've spoken about already, and we keep talking about it. Bungie owns all but 2 residences in the neighborhood of Destrehan Heights. Actually, one in Destrehan and one in Gabriel. But we own all but that land between Jonathan, Lorraine, River Road, and the railroad tracks. This is a real simple request. This is a safety and security issue. Bungie is building the new facility. It's going to be a very large facility close to the current facility. But just like Shell, when Shell bought out land, just when Valero bought out land, just like the Good Hope subdivision, we can't have residents riding through the facility back and forth at will. It can't just be open to the public. So what we're asking is the revocation of those streets. We already solved the problem to cross the railroad tracks to get to the north part of the facility. I mean, north part of the property, the land. So we're asking for your vote, your positive vote. Our goal is and always has been to protect the communities where we operate. Through all our expansion work, we will be focused on safety and environmental protection. We believe revocation of the streets is first and foremost a site security and safety issue. Thanks for your time and consideration. I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, Cynthia Patera, 12646 River Road, Destrehan, Louisiana. And just for the record, we've been there 102 years, and personally, I have been there 78 years. I know y'all all have received this letter from Ms. Impasto on Public Works just about giving them these streets already to private entities, which I think is totally illegal. I really think somebody better look at that. And prior to getting y'all getting that letter, here it is. Here's the picture that I gave y'all. and there's nothing here but road closure. After they got y'all got the letter, they put up temporary closure. You know, I mean, they're gonna try to cover themselves. I don't know who put up the temporary closure, if it was planning and zoning, public works, or Bungie, and I really would like to know, just for the record. So nobody wants to answer, okay. And it's a month today, I spoke with my councilwoman, Heather, who was going to call me back on Monday. I haven't heard from her yet, neither. This is totally taxation without representation. We're not being represented at all. If Bungie wants to do all of this, let them come buy us out. I have 102 years invested in this. A lot of businesses, I have been paying taxes. Now, they didn't pay taxes all the time. Rock Display had to take them to court to make them pay taxes. So they're not that good of a company, even though they want to pretend they are. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patera. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, I'm the other half of the Pateras. I'm Tony Patera Offner. I live at 457 Longview, but I do own property in between the grain elevators at 12646 and 100 Amelia, lots 1, 2, and 3. When, like she said, we've been there for 102 years. Personally, I've 70 years there. We have never been treated well by these people. They were brought in non-conforming. They're putting this into a non-conforming buffer zone. They are not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not trying to make us relax and enjoying our homes. We can't enjoy our property. It devalued our property. We have, besides rats and every other thing you can possibly imagine, they're not good neighbors. They never will be good neighbors. They're out to take care of themselves. Nobody represents us. Nobody cares. The ordinance is clear. It said they needed a 1-mile buffer zone. It's very clear. They're non-conforming. According to the law, they cannot put any more on that property until they become conforming. And y'all are letting them do this to us. And it's not fair to us. Y'all, none of y'all live there. Yeah, anybody want to buy property? I got plenty to sell. No, huh? Yeah, I mean, it's just, we're very upset with this person who wanted to go from C2 to C3. Good God, we got M3 property. The only thing that's M3 is grain elevators. And we have 2 of them, not 1, 2. And everything in the river right in front of us. And now we got M2 sitting there too.
Yeah, we're talking about the revocation of streets, not the
Okay,
zone.
what I'm saying is they're very bad people. I think if they want this property, they should be buying it, not giving it to them. They don't pay taxes when they start building, but we continue paying taxes. I don't think they deserve it. I really hope y'all feel the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Once again, Wendy Grayson, 205 Lorraine Street, Destrehan, Louisiana. We want to talk about the streets. That's what we want to talk about, okay? The right-of-way burden for the landlocking of the parish to get to their facilities and Entergy and the individual that's behind there too, okay? When they bought this land, they knew that they were landlocking these people, and they had to give the right-of-way. Legally, you have to give the right-of-way. That was Bungie's burden. That's their property, their burden. Why should it be ours? Why should we have to have the burden? We did not buy the property. The landlocked property is not behind us. It's behind them. We do not understand this. Why can't they put in their own road? You're going in already, building a nice road to standards. Ours is never going to be to standards. They're going to continue destroying it. And I hope it's in the budget to do it every year. They say that they're going to be keeping, because it's fenced in, it's going to keep all this traffic out. No, it's not. It has happened 3 times today. 3. And that was just in the morning. And it only stopped because I called the police. It happens all the time, every single day. And then when they get messed up with the police and can't send the 18-wheelers or the side-by-sides, then their construction trucks go up and down and up and down and up and down. This street is going to get destroyed. We've never had this much traffic. Never. We're a tight-knit community. We know who comes and goes. Now we're going to have to start watching everything that's around, because there's no one that we've met on this site that is from this parish at all. Maybe not even this state. So for 30 jobs, you're going to destroy all of this for 30 jobs that are not even going to come from this parish. Have you even told them or asked them to say, okay, 50% of these jobs, these 30 jobs, 15 jobs, should come from this parish?
Grayson, stick to the topic, please, of the streets.
That's,
We're not talking about jobs, we're talking about the road vacation of the streets.
that's it right there.
Okay.
I mean, the burden of the landlocked, that is the key right there. And they keep saying it's for safety, and the fence is going to keep it out. It's not. The fence has been up, and it's still happening.
Thank you, Ms. Grayson, appreciate it. If anyone else like to speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. O'Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Wu, for explaining some of these provisions in the access agreement and assuring me that the parish will have the necessary access, as well as the difference between access between the public and a public entity. It's extremely important for me to understand and make sure that the citizens will be protected, and that their essential services will have not just one, but 2 access in case of emergency. And as far as the residents are concerned, I want to just state that I have researched this myself. Mr. Oob is absolutely 100% correct. This is a function of the law that once, once the property is owned by Bungie, the streets revert to Bungie, and that's just the way it is. It's not something that requires any transaction or any type of money to be transferred to Bungie. They own it and technically have the right to these streets. As a result of that, Mr. Bingham, could you address any cost savings the parish might have if they don't have to redo these streets that are in poor and dilapidated condition?
Sure. Let me first say that the streets that we're talking about are some of the poorest streets in the parish. They rate very poorly in our annual look at streets. So that was in considering this. That we've talked a lot about the access, and one of the considerations as Public Works Director in going through this process was our access, and that issue has been resolved, has been discussed a lot. The second issue is what Councilwoman O'Daniels is talking about, is the upkeep of these streets. It's very expensive for us to actually physically bring these streets back to a level that is the same, at a level where you could really allow a lot of traffic on them. It's one of the reasons that we, as Public Works, went out and closed the streets, because there were no property owners that lived in that area that needed access to those streets. We were the ones that made the decision to close the street, because there was just too many people going over to see what Bungie was doing, and that was a safety issue for us, because they're substandard streets, and that was the reason that was done. So, as you requested, when we talk about maintaining these streets, we do maintenance on our streets on a regular basis. These streets, if we were going to bring them back up to standard, would have to be widened and also improved. So it would be a considerable expense to the parish. You could close in on $1 million to redo all of these streets.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Ms. Sotanis. Is there any other council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0328. And that motion passes unanimously with Mr. Carmadel abstaining. Okay, 2024-0119, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a change order number 1 for the Destrehan Pump Station, PS number 2 conveyance of improvements, project number P181101, to increase the contract by $66,500 and increase the time of the contract by 8 calendar days. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a situation where we refurbished all of the 48-inch pumps before starting the work at the Destrehan Pump Station. We had a storm. After we had put the last one in place, it developed a vibration within 10 hours of operation. We needed to repull that pump, but we couldn't get a contractor in there to do it so we decided to use the contractor that's on site, which is sea level. And so we're amending doing a change order to their contract to allow them to pull that pump and then replace the pump when it's finished having service. It's as simple as that. It's convenience that they're there. It would normally cost us almost twice this to pull a pump, to get the people to mobilize to the site twice, because they would go out one time, pull the pump, demobilize, and then mobilize again to go get the pump and put it back in.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bingham. File number 2024-0119 is open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Pierre.
Mr. Bingham, I just want to commend you guys for doing something really smart. This is saving a lot of money, and it's not going to delay the project over there at the pump station very much. 8 days, nothing. So I just wanted to commend you guys. Whoever came up with this idea, they did a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any other council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0119. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0121, an ordinance to rescind ordinance 23-3-6 and to approve a purchase and/or expropriation of 1,482 square feet perpetual sewer servitude, a 2,223 square foot temporary construction servitude, and a 1,767 square foot perpetual access servitude over property owned by John T. Lambert Jr. and Michael Melanson, designated as lots 1A of the John Lambert tract for the St. Rose Sewer Network Upgrade Project. Mr. Oob.
Yes, thank you, Councilman. As reflected in the ordinance, last year on March 7th, 2023, the council approved an ordinance allowing the parish president to execute a purchase of the servitude. At that time, it was the approximately 1,482 square feet of a perpetual servitude and 2,223 square feet of the construction servitude, which you'll see on page 69 of the agenda. The approved price at the time was $813.28, which was the appraised price. Since then, the parish, as well as the owners, have discussed additional servitude footage. And if you see on page 69 at the end of Wagon Trail, that additional 1,767 square feet of perpetual access is at the end of Wagon Trail connecting to the construction servitude and the 10-foot servitude. Adding that additional footage increased the value to $1,648.92. So this ordinance does two things. It rescinds the prior ordinance and puts everything in one to allow the purchase of those servitudes for $1,648.92. And let me add to this, if we did send the offer letter to the owners, and we're very confident that Mr. Lambert and Mr. Malonzo will be accepting these offers based on our in-personal discussions with them. I know Councilman O'Daniels has had those discussions as well with Mr. Lambert. If not, it also authorizes the parish president to expropriate should it be necessary up to that value.
Thank you, Mr. Hoop. File number 2024-0121 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0121. And that motion passes unanimously. Resolutions 2024-0129. A resolution notifying the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality that the St. Charles Parish Department of Wastewater has reviewed its municipal water pollution prevention environmental audit report for LA 0073539 A139862, the Destrehan Water Treatment Plant, and set forth the required action. Mr. Generis.
Yeah, this is part of our permit that we have to do annually. So it's really to rate each plant. The lower score is the better score. So in this case for Destrehan, we had a score of 60. Our highest point award was because of the age of the plant. So hopefully when we do some repairs in the near future, that should go down and we should have a really low score. So we hope you support this, and then we'll just submit this to DEQ once with the resolution that y'all approve.
Thank you, Mr. Generis. File number 2024-0129 is open for public comment. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0129. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0130, it's a resolution notifying the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality that the St. Charles Parish Department of Wastewater has reviewed the municipal water pollution prevention environmental audit report for LA 0073521, A143357, the Hanville Wastewater Treatment Plant, and has set forth the required action. Mr. Generis.
Once again, the same thing for the Hornville plant. As you see, our score is 105. The biggest hits were age of the plant, and also we do have an I&I problem in Hornville in the collection system, so we had several overflows over the last year. So that's one thing that we're working on to prevent. So we did a lot of stuff in Luland to help solve some of that. So we have seen some improvement, but there's still a lot more to do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daenerys. File number 2024-0130 is now open for public comment. If anyone would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0130. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0131, a resolution notifying the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality that the St. Charles Parish Department of Wastewater has reviewed the municipal water pollution prevention environmental audit report for LA 0032131, A143356, the Luling Oxidation Pond, and set forth the required action. Mr. Generis.
Same thing. We had a score of 63.5, pretty standard. So, I mean, That's still a pretty low score. Anything under 100 is really a low score, so we're happy with that. It needs improvements in the collection system, and we are working on projects to do that by either upgrading lift stations or doing some pipelining in the future.
Thank you, sir. File number 2024-0131 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0131. And that motion passes unanimously. 2024-0132, a resolution endorsing a waiver from Appendix C, subdivision regulations of 1981, Section 3, geometric standards, B blocks 3 arranged as requested by Paul Hogan. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a two-lot subdivision with a waiver to utilize an existing access servitude, providing access to the rear lot. The department had no objection, recommended approval. The Planning Commission approved the subdivision contingent upon the waiver request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. File number 2024-0132 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Council. Parish President Paul Hogan, 222 Down Bayou Road, Zalmans. As Mike said, it's a simple re-subdivision. It's a over 2 acre piece of property, subdividing it into 2 acre lots. And rear lot's going to be from my little nephew that's going to get married, and I'm going to give that lot to him, and he's going to have access through his dad's servitude that goes to the property to the side. So it's all family, little subdivision. Ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Does anyone else would like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0132. All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Hogan. Thank you. All righty. 2024-0133, a resolution requesting the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, the DOTD, install cable barriers in the U.S. Highway 90 medians between Willowdale Drive in Luling and Live Oak Boulevard in Wagaman. I have received a request to amend the item 2024-0133 by adding Councilman Mobley and Councilman Commodell as a sponsor. I need a motion, please. I have a motion by Ms. O'Daniels and second by Ms. Wilson to amend file number 2024-0133 to add Mr. Commodell and Mr. Mobley as co-sponsors. File number 2024-133 is now open for public comment, so if there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this amendment, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion on this? Seeing none, please cast your votes to amend file number 2024-0133. Okay, so that motion passes to amend it. All right. So now I'm going to ask Ms. Fonseca to explain for us what this is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Traveling along this stretch of Highway 90 with the narrow median separating the opposing lanes of traffic at high speed is dangerous. Everybody knows that. As recent as January, a median crossover crash occurred that resulted in the tragic loss of Hornville resident Tyler Scott. Prior to that, there have been other median crossover crashes that have resulted in serious injuries and some fatalities. I received requests from residents both prior to and after the recent fatal accident to implement some safety improvements. I request that they be implemented along that stretch. Parish President Jewell was able to obtain crash statistics for the St. Charles Parish stretch of Highway 90 alone from Willowdale Boulevard to the parish line. Those statistics revealed that from 2012 to 2022, 246 crashes occurred, resulting in 69 injuries and 4 fatalities. And these statistics do not include the recent fatality in January. With this resolution, we're requesting that DOTD install cable barriers in the Highway 90 medians between Willowdale Boulevard in Luling and Live Oak Boulevard in Wagaman as an effective solution to prevent vehicular crashes from median crossovers. Parish President Jewell has spoken with DOTD District 2 Engineer Administrator Scott Boyle, who indicated that a formal request such as this was needed to initiate the process of studying the area to determine the appropriate safety improvement and securing the funding to implement any necessary improvement. So Parish President Jewell has also drafted a letter that will be sent with a copy of this resolution to DOTD, and your support for the resolution is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fonseca. File number 2024-0133, as amended, is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion? Okay, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0133 as amended. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank all of y'all for your support on that. It's a very important item. Meetings, announcements, notices, etc. Meetings, the Lafourche Basin Levee District, Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024, 6 p.m. Lafourche Basin Levee District Office, 21380 Highway 20 in Vacherie. The Planning and Zoning Commission, Thursday, April 4th, 6 p.m. Council Chambers. The Communication District, 911, Monday, April 8th, 2024, 5 p.m. in the council chambers. The Civil Service Board, Wednesday, April 10th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. council chambers. The Pontchartrain Levee District, Monday, April 15th, 2024, 6 p.m. Pontchartrain Levee District Headquarter Complex, 2069 Railroad Avenue, Lutcher. The St. Charles Parish Council, Monday, April 15th, 2024, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. I need a motion and a second is needed to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. Bouye, second by Ms. Wilson. Please cast your votes to adjourn. Bless you. And that motion passes unanimously. Have a great evening. We're officially adjourned.